Welcome everyone to We Are Triathletes 2018 webinar series. These series are, we have videos that go on every single week, and they just help you as an athlete get better and perform better. And today we have Dr. Marc Taczanowski from True Sport Care. Dr. Marc is going to be talking about injury prevention and how to activate your glutes. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Marc.
Thanks, Hilary.
So tell us a little bit, Dr. Marc, about who you are and what True Sports Care does.
So I'm a chiropractor by trade originally. And after my wife and I, she's also a chiropractor, after we opened up our practice, we wanted to learn ways that we can get people better faster. And we started to take some techniques. We started to take a lot of postgraduate work. And after, at this point, about 20 years of taking these classes, we kind of felt like we've obtained the holy grail of sports medicine, how to effectively treat people, how to effectively coach them, so that way they don't get re-injured. The biggest thing with us is I don't want you to become reliant on our services. I want to be able to teach you why it's happening, teach you how to correct it, and therefore prevent it from coming back so you don't need to continuously come in. We hear too often that people go and they get worked on, they get stretched out, they get dug out, they get scraped, they get ART'd, they get grasped, they get taped, all of these different things. And 2 months after that, they have to go back into the same exact issue. So that didn't really fix anything. It just kind of calmed it down or patched it or put a Band-Aid on it for the moment. So that's pretty much what we do in the office. I hear more and more now, I think probably the biggest thing that sets us apart is that you'll never be staged in this office. Staging is basically when you go into a facility and you're either going to get put on heat and stim while the practitioner goes and treats other people. So to me, that's just a time waster. It's kind of, it increases the potential for revenue generation, but it decreases the potential for patient improvement, for actually learning how to treat somebody and get them better. We need face-to-face time with our patients, so we literally are spending the full either half an hour or hour one-to-one doctor-to-patient ratio, and that's what's, I think, missing in healthcare.
Athletes typically get injured. I mean, what is it? It seems, I've got a running group, I've got this, We Are Triathletes, and every day I'm hearing about another athlete getting injured. And why is that?
So athletes and really anybody, we look at something called the chronic injury cycle, and we feel that everything stems from an original muscle imbalance. Now, people don't know when they have a muscle imbalance. At least they don't yet know, but we're trying to teach them how to identify these muscle imbalances. But when you have tightness somewhere, let's say you say I have tight hamstrings, that's not necessarily something that you should just stretch out or foam roll. It's something that you should identify and say, well, I must have these tight hamstrings for a reason. We know the body's pretty smart and it doesn't do things arbitrarily. The analogy that I always give is that 20, 30 years ago when a child had a fever, you'd give them Tylenol in order to break the fever. But now we're realizing that, hey, listen, the body's pretty smart. The body is raising its own internal temperature to try to fight off whatever disease the child has. So we're trying to learn the body's cues and understand that these are not necessarily bad things, but we have to be good detectives and good interpreters of what these signals mean. So when somebody comes in to me specifically and they say, well, I have a plantar fasciitis issue, I go, all right, well, that's inflammation of the covering of the bottom of your foot, and I don't necessarily care what it's called. I care how it got there. If I can figure out how it got there, I can reverse it. Knowing what it's called doesn't actually help me in the treatment. It helps you treat the area of the issue, but it doesn't get to the nitty-gritty of why it got there.
So let's talk a little bit about the glutes, because that's what we're here for. I've heard, and I know even for myself, that before I saw you, I wasn't using my glutes at all. And it seems like glutes are the powerhouse of everything that you do. So talk to us a little bit about how we can activate our glutes.
Sure. So I'm going to probably show you a lot of exercises that look familiar to you. But I'm going to be very nitpicky about what you're supposed to feel. And that's one of the concepts that we have here in the office all the time. we've had people who've failed physical therapy, and they come in and I say, well, what have you done for your whatever issues? And they're supposed to be doing these clamshell exercises. It's like, all right, show me the clamshells. And they show me the clamshell. It looks pretty good. And I go, where do you feel it? And they go, I feel it on the outside of my thigh. And I go, you're not doing a clamshell effectively. So every exercise, and I don't have any kind of a grudge against any exercise specifically, every exercise can be beneficial, and that same exact exercise can be ineffective or potentially even detrimental, depending on what the patient or the athlete feels. So it really is more about mind-muscle connection more than anything. Here's a prime example. All right, so this is basically going to be a glute bridge. So most people know this exercise, and you're just going to sit here and you're going to push your legs up to the ceiling. Now, I can't tell you how many times people do this exercise, and I say, where do you feel it? And they go, I feel it in my back, or I feel it in my hamstrings. That's what you're working around. You're working around your glutes. So how do we cultivate more glute activity? We try to teach you how to take away the cheats from these particular activities. So let's say I am using too much hamstring. So if I do a glute bridge and my legs are here, the potential for me using hamstrings is pretty good. If I move my feet in close to my butt, the potential for me using my hamstrings is actually reduced. Now what about my low back? My low back actually may arch too much, which means I'm using low back predominantly and not enough glute. So I would need to take my tailbone and tuck my tailbone first, and then come up, and it would probably be more likely the glutes that are doing the work. Here's the other thing that can happen. So you can cheat by having the strong side mask the weak side. So that's why we always ask when people are doing these activation style exercises, you have to do things unilaterally, meaning one leg at a time, because you're not going to know. Let's say you can do 3 sets of 30 glute activations when you're doing them combined. When you do them unilaterally, you may be able to do, let's say, 30 on one side and only 10 on the other. This is going to flush out your asymmetry and make you realize that, wow, I do actually have a little bit of a weak left glute, and I need to increase my glute ability. So we would do that unilaterally like this, taking one leg, putting one leg down. If I take this knee and I bring this knee to my chest, it naturally curls my low back up, so I don't have to think about not using my low back. Then when I push this leg down, I am from a gentleman named Greg Cook. He's a physical therapist, and it is called the Cook Bridge specifically, but it's very, very good at just targeting the glutes. Another muscle that you have to watch out for is the calf. So if you feel like you're pushing too much through the ball of your foot on that maneuver, you're going to be recruiting too much calf, so you have to push more through the heel. With that being said, not necessarily lifting up your toes, because now you're engaging another muscle. So it's really a matter of, I always kind of make the analogy, think of a gigantic switchboard in your brain, and you have every muscle switch pretty much identified. You have to unplug just about every muscle switch except for the muscle that you're trying to target and activate, and that's how you cultivate better activity in that structure.
How often do you do these exercises? Do you do them every day? Do you do them before you work out? What would you suggest?
And how's my volume now?
Perfect.
Okay, so, and again, you know about our YouTube channel, specifically with a lot of these activations on the channel. So if you're looking for glutes, we have 3 different versions of glute activations that you can check out and potentially do. One of the other exercises that I wanted to show, if we have time, is for the glute medius and minimus, because that's something that as runners and triathletes, you guys suffer from all the time. I'm going to show you, and I'll get back there. I'll try to scream pretty loudly so you hear me.
Sounds good.
So this is a clamshell exercise where you're sitting there like this and you open the legs up like that. It probably looks pretty familiar, but the thing is that people usually feel it too much in the thigh and not enough over here. So what I'm going to show you is that as I'm in this position, if your hip rolls back and then you open your legs up, you're not actually doing anything. This top hip has to be in front of the bottom hip, and then as you lift that leg up, you should feel it more actually in the glutes themselves and not in the thigh. So again, my big beef with all of these exercises is, where do you feel it? So when you're doing the exercises at home, I'm going to ask that you kind of take inventory and you say, all right, I'm doing the exercise, it looks right, but does it feel right? I want to make sure that it feels right and I feel it in the right spot. As far as timing of these exercises go, the best time to do these is immediately prior to any kind of activity like running or swimming or biking. So let's say you go, I don't know if I use my glutes enough, and you wake them up prior to an activity. With these activation exercises, those muscles will be more likely to participate.
So, all right, so we should do these activation exercises. You have a YouTube channel. Can you tell us exactly where it is located on YouTube so that anybody could refer back to that?
Sure. So if you, actually, you know what? Give me a quick second. I might actually help out. So I don't know if this will work, but
yeah,
if you scan that code with your phone camera, it'll bring you right to our YouTube channel. Okay, I'll leave it up there for a second. If you don't have that ability, then all you would do is go on YouTube and look up our office name, which is True Sport Care, and it'll bring you right to our channel. There's about 95 videos, and again, there's usually some type of instruction on there. So it'll be target the glutes, but don't feel the calf, don't feel the hamstring, don't feel the low back. So you'll know exactly what you should and what you shouldn't feel. And that's, again, that's the most important part of any good rehab exercise. As far as sets and reps go, when you're acute, and let's say you don't know how to find a muscle, then you should be doing things essentially a lot. 6 sets, 30-second holds per day. And we like isometric holds more than standard repetitions because it allows you to take inventory of what's going on. If I'm supposed to be doing this, and every time I do this, I'm doing this as well, then I'm not going to necessarily realize that I'm doing that with each rep. But if I hold my arm up there, then I can take inventory and say, all right, relax the hand, relax the fingers, relax everything else, breathe normally, and now I know that I'm going to be targeting the right structure. So again, you're kind of taking inventory and looking at that gigantic switchboard in your brain to say which lights are on and which lights are off.
Let's talk specifically about, certain types of injuries. For example, you had mentioned plantar fasciitis before. The other very common one is shin splints or Achilles tendonitis. Is this actually part of, should the person look at the equipment that they're using, for example, their shoes, or is it just that they're just not using the right muscles to, that are activating? What's going on there?
So if you speak to somebody in a shoe store, they're probably going to tell you that you need new shoes. If you speak to somebody who sells orthotics, they're probably going to tell you that you just need a new set of orthotics. If you speak to somebody like me, I'm going to say, let's fix the inherent structures of the body first, and then let's see what happens. Our goal is always to make you comfortable. This isn't even a running analogy, it's kind of a life analogy, but how many people have like 50 pillows at home because they're looking for that one magic pillow that helps them sleep comfortably? And I feel that if you use all of the muscles of your body efficiently, if you don't have any kind of extra stress on certain muscles, then any pillow will be comfortable. I had this argument with a guy at Sleepy's when I bought a mattress about 5 years ago. He said, oh, this mattress is great. It solves all the sleep problems that we have here in the US. And I go, why do we have all these sleep problems in the US? I don't think it's because of the poor mattresses that we have. I said, there are people in third world countries that sleep on straw mats, and because they physically exhaust themselves throughout the day, they sleep beautifully. I remember traveling with the bobsled team, and we slept on these cots essentially in Russia. And same thing, because I had 16-hour days, I was sleeping great. It didn't matter what I was sleeping on. So I don't necessarily blame external sources. I typically blame internal sources. And again, with that being said, there are some people who no matter what we do, they're going to need to be in an orthotic. But I'm hoping that because of the work that they do, they need a less aggressive orthotic than something very, very aggressive.
So some of our people are located around the country, and they can't obviously get to your office. Do you have any kind of accommodations for those folks?
We do, and we, I guess we got, I don't know if I want to say lucky, but we kind of fell into this by accident. My brother-in-law, who really doesn't live far away, but he's about an hour away, had said he had some kind of a piriformis thing going on or a disc issue. We weren't sure. So I said, all right, Scott, let me have you do these exercises. So we kind of did it remotely. And then from that point, we had another kid who was going to in Quantico, Virginia, to be an officer, and he was experiencing some knee pain. So we actually Skyped, and I showed him some exercises, and it wound up helping him tremendously. So these are people who've been exposed to the system. We actually did a test run with somebody who's never been exposed to the system from Minnesota, and he was a plantar fasciitis patient who went through traditional physical therapy. He went through other types of treatments, and he wasn't getting anywhere. So same thing, we ran him through our system, and I think we had 4 online sessions total, and he said he continues to do the exercise, and he's about 95% better. So I think that you can work remotely with somebody. Again, if somebody's spending the time and somebody's making sure that you're feeling things in the right place, and the highest hurdle we have is patient compliance. So all the patient needs to do is do the exercises and do them as prescribed, and they usually see fantastic results.
I thought what's interesting, I think, about you as opposed to some of the other practitioners out there is that I remember when I went to see you and you said, it's okay, that's all I could do for you. It's time to stop now. You could do it on your own. And I looked at you like, are you crazy? You know, most practitioners keep you coming back, you know? So can you talk a little bit about that too?
I think that serves one purpose, but that's not the purpose why I kind of got into this. I mean, I feel like the more we try to put ourselves out of business, the busier we get. So I think that I'm kind of going to stick to that model and really try to educate and teach. There are some people that no matter what, they will not put the effort in, and that's fine. We'll still be here to serve them as well, but we just want to realize that we have that conversation and say, listen, I know you would need me less if you did more on your own. And they go, yeah, it's fine. I don't want to do it. I'll just come in and see you. And I go, fine, as long as we're in agreement that that's pretty much what the arrangement is going to be. But yeah, my own experience is that I had a soccer injury in my groin, maybe about now it's 20 years ago. And I didn't have a lot of knowledge other than just being a basic chiropractor. So I went for massage therapy. I went for traditional physical therapy. I did a lot of different things. I went to an orthopedic surgeon. He said I needed surgery. I went ahead and did the surgery. Then I did the rehab after that. So I've been through the medical spiral, if you will, and I saw 0 results. And then when I started taking all these classes, essentially I was doing them to try to fix myself, and I started learning what works and what doesn't work. And what wound up happening is that I realized that it's the patient who really has to put the effort in. If properly coached, they just need to know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and then when they're properly coached, they find that they can actually fix themselves. There's no machine, whether it be ultrasound, stim, cold laser, you know, there's no machine that works better than you learning how to use your body more efficiently. When that happens and you reprogram the brain, then everything falls into place. And that's where I think the world of sports medicine is eventually going. We're trying to change the minds of a lot of people, and there's a lot of resistance out there, but we see the results day in and day out.
Awesome.
Let's see. So we talked about the glutes. We talked about the glute medius, which is also an important muscle. The reason why that muscle is important, I'll give you the biomechanical breakdown of why the glute medius is important, is that when you run, your step looks like this, okay? Your knee has a tendency to want to do that. And what that means is that the stabilizers up here need to pull that knee in this direction. So that's why the gluteus medius on this side is important. We do a lot of single leg balancing maneuvers for our runners and our triathletes. And they say, well, why do I have to do all this balance stuff? And I said, well, every run, every step you take is a single leg balance. So if you can test yourselves too. Go ahead and balance on one leg and use a stopwatch, use an iPhone, and find out how long you can balance on that one leg. Test yourself on the other leg. See if it's pretty similar. The older we get, the poorer our balance becomes. But if you can't balance on one leg for, let's say, 30 seconds pretty easily, eyes open, then I don't want to say you have no business running, but you should really be working on your single leg balancing so that way you can run more safely. You know, really upwards of 45 seconds to a minute is ideal. And then if you get pretty good that way, then trying it with your eyes closed is a good idea too. Now you're taking away a lot of those sensors, the visual sensors, and now you're relying solely on your proprioceptors in your joints and your muscles and your tendons. So that's another good exercise that all runners and triathletes can pretty much practice is single leg balancing.
Make this a wrap. And again, Dr. Marc, can you just give your website?
Sure. Yeah, so the website is True Sport Care. So it's TRUESPORT care.com. Our office is located in Nesconset, New York. The number of the office is 631-584-8783. And on the YouTube channel, again, you would look for our office name, which is True Sport Care. And if you don't see somebody from the office, including myself, usually it's going to be me. So if you don't see my bald head doing the exercises, then it's probably somebody else. And there are tons of options out there, but most of the options that you find out there are going to be stretches and not activations. And we align much more with the activation side of things rather than the stretching side of things. Stretching is good, but it just gives you temporary improvement. It doesn't give you full long-term resolution.
Well, I thank you very, very much. I appreciate your sponsorship, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. Next time, we're going to do a webinar on all about the bike, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.